everyone. My name is Shenyuan Hu. I'm the founder of Joint Commonwealth Fund, or JCF. So it's my pleasure to welcome you to this weekly live cast for JCF's fireside chat. So on this weekly live webinar, we will talk about some of the trends and predictions of the crypto market. Okay, and JCF is basically a crypto index fund that tries to realize universal basic income to make it actually universal. So on this today's webinar, we would like to talk about, well, cryptocurrency rise or fall for 2019, okay, which is this year. All right, so the source of what we like to, and of course, we are not experts at predictions, but we do, learn from the smartest guys. So as James Altucher said, that you should always stand next to the smartest person in the room. So on this matter, what we refer to is John, okay, with his article on the internet, basically makes predictions about this year, 2019. And he's basically the guy leading the team behind the WAX, the rating system. They have what's called a cryptocurrency ratings. And he's basically a mathematician and econometrician, basically analyzing with lots of data. Okay. So the way that they do the prediction is actually based on two things. One is, before this, I like to talk about why should you care? Okay, why should you care about this? Because cryptos or blockchain technology, for that matter, likely will become something that will impact the lives of our everyday life, from the currency we use to maybe how we do financial transactions to what may be called token economies. Okay. And this is something that we will be seeing more and more in the near future, that a lot of the assets could be tokenized and in the forms of tokens that can be traded, can be, hold, can act as, rights to ownership or to payments, like dividend payments, for example. So this is why we like to share this information with people about. If you are still not that familiar, then we will explain a bit how all these things are working. So the approach that John is taking is they have these two models, the cycles models and ratings model. Okay, basically that's based on historic timing and records of the market trends. And also they have matrix that monitor thousands of data points every week to identify what are the strong coins and what's their risk, etc. So now let's talk about their prediction. So the first prediction is that Bitcoin will be increasingly used as a store of value. So what this means is that Bitcoin, if you have some familiarity with it, it's basically you can store value in it, such as it has a certain market price. You can transfer that, okay, and all the transactions they are recorded publicly with full transparency. So in many ways, it's a better version of gold. It can act as gold, but it's cheaper to store, to transfer, and also more transparent to verify. So its value as a store of value will be seen and recognized more and more. And what this will lead to is Bitcoin's price will rise again. And they predict that it will head to a new all-time high. And they're not saying this out of, simply wishful thinking, but observing the histories, Bitcoin has seen at least 5 major declines in the past, last year being the 5th. And in 2015, the crash was about 70%, but then it bounced back to an all-time high. What this is, so this is their prediction, I guess, based on the matrix they're observing, and basically these ups, downs, highs, lows, they tend to follow certain patterns. So they predict that it will rise again this year. And the third one is some altcoins, which are alternative shorthand for alternative coins. They are coins that are based on the Bitcoin technology because it's open source, it's open. Anyone can use that to create their own coins. These altcoins, or some of the other forms of coins like EOS, okay, which is trying to, like Ethereum. I mean, these other types of coins, they are trying to supplement certain missing function that Bitcoin doesn't have, like performance or whether it's more anonymity. And some of these will become relatively unknown to fairly unknown, and maybe even become 20 times as high as their current price point. So how this can happen is because some of these altcoins actually have very strong fundamentals. For example, WAX, which we talked about a few weeks ago, it's actually a coin that's being created by a company which trades digital items in games, in games and these online games. They have virtual goods, virtual items, game items, and they have a global network, a platform called Upskin that allows players around the world to trade their virtual items online. And currently, they're doing this with accepting 50 different fiat coins. Fiat currencies. So they have actually connecting with various financial institutions to receive payments so that they could do cross-border transactions of these digital items. But this is all very costly and it has certain fees involved. So it's with that problem, they want to make it cheaper to transfer because some items maybe cost just like $5 US, and with with the transaction fees in real world, that's just too much, to make these transactions desirable. But if there is a new, token system that could actually everyone is using and doing this virtual item transfer transaction, then it not only can increase the speed, lower the cost, but also facilitate larger transactions and provide better economic incentives for people. So there's a real use case, that the altcoin WAX is trying to support. So coins like these that are based on real world needs probably are recognized and rise, their values could rise by as much as 20%. And the fourth prediction is that some cryptos will compete to build a new internet. So some of these cryptos actually are designed to act as a sort of infrastructure. Right now, some of the infrastructure coins include Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is providing what's called smart contract that you can execute an agreement between some people or groups of people that have the smart contract to carry out certain tasks on behalf of the people, simply based on the rules. Okay, so that's like for example, JCF, our service. Basically, we release tokens that are JCF tokens, and that would ensure that, for example, if you hold one JCF token, you will be able to receive annual dividends of the profits that could rise from a JCF token. And that is something that's being executed by the smart contract, that's behind the JCF token. And so Ethereum is a kind of, and we're based on Ethereum. So Ethereum is kind of an infrastructure crypto, and so is EOS. Okay, EOS is in some ways a faster or maybe better Ethereum because it's trying to provide similar functions, but maybe at a faster speed and lower cost. So some of these will try to compete to form, a new infrastructure for the internet to provide secure and efficient transactions or other use case. Now, and a fifth one is, some of these cryptos will start to disrupt the financial world. So one example might be like Ripple, okay? Because right now there are some coins that's tied to the financial institution and transaction systems. So Ripple has something called XRP, which is actually designed to be as a replacement for the SWIFT, transaction system that's currently the worldwide banking, banks around the world use SWIFT to send monies, across different countries. And XRP is designed with the back of some financial institutions to actually replace that system to make it faster and more efficient. So these adoptions are, technology progress and also adoptions are continuously ongoing. So once there are enough players or enough banks that are accepting this kind of transaction system, then it will become something, big and ubiquitous for people to see. Now, the sixth prediction is that a lot of these, what's called the Me Too Bitcoin coins, will start to fade away. So besides Bitcoin, there's 2,000 cryptocurrency out there, and some of these are trying to basically act as a better Bitcoin, okay, or a replacement of Bitcoin or a different version of Bitcoin. But for example, like currently, even in the top 10, there's what's called Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV. These are the forks of Bitcoins that have because people have different opinions as to how Bitcoin should act, so they just fork Bitcoin into two different separate ways and create new coins. But these new coins, fundamentally, they're just the same thing as a Bitcoin. Okay, so the prediction here is that their long-term value will actually decrease because over the long term, people will start to recognize that Bitcoin is really the real thing. And the seven is the prediction: new coins will come to top 10. Okay, this should hardly come as a surprise because cryptocurrency is still at the infant stage, and there are some coins that could have very strong fundamentals or technologies behind. Okay, like Holochain or this Hedera, Hashgraph, basically Hashgraph technologies, and these are simply more efficient versions of what blockchain was trying to do. So once their values and their engineering adoption has been recognized, likely their volume will go up and increase to top 10. Okay, so these are the predictions that the wise the analyst company, they have done. But we can summarize them to basically three main points. Okay, so the first one is that basically the fundamentals of blockchain technology or Bitcoin will start to be recognizable. Okay, this is, I think, one of the main things they're trying to say. And while the prices have been fluctuating, and it will continue to do so because people don't understand what this is. This is all too new. But once people start to realize, Bitcoin is actually a better version of gold. It has all the same properties as gold has, but it's cheaper to store, to transfer, to verify, and also much more efficient. Okay, so very simply, the demands on gold as a store of value will somehow shift to Bitcoin. And even if, just like by an estimate, because there's like 7.5 trillion US dollar worth of gold now in the world, even if just 5% of that becomes, Bitcoin, that would make each Bitcoin worth 50,000 US dollar, okay, each. So that gives you an idea that, the long-term value of Bitcoin as a digital gold, once it starts to get realized, the value will go up. So I think that's one of the main message. The second message is that I think from their prediction is that cryptos will be separated and recognized by their use cases. Okay, so for example, like store of value is one use case, and it's already being dominated and taken by Bitcoin. There could be other use case like smart contract. Okay, smart contract. In this use case, currently the king is Ethereum. Okay, but EOS is trying to compete with it, with Ethereum. Who will win? We don't know, and maybe there can be one or two winners. But essentially, because of the winner-take-all phenomenon in the technology world, what this means is that in the end, there will be probably just a few winners, a few that's left, that dominates a certain use case, maybe even just one coin, okay? And all the other competitors will fade away. So it's worth, watching which will be the winner of a particular use case. And this is another way you can use to judge crypto, the value of cryptos, which is if in this use case, there's already a dominant player, like in a store of value use case, Bitcoin is the dominant player, then probably long term, all the other coins will lose their values to Bitcoin, and probably not a good idea to hold them or invest in them long term. And the third message I think they try to bring is blockchain and Bitcoin will become something disruptive to many industries and existing systems, like the financial sector, maybe the insurance sector. And because of the tokenization nature of these cryptos, that they are able to take some physical or real world assets and tokenize the value into various cryptos. So once we see more and more assets being adopted and converted into forms of token, this token economy likely will rise and start to become dominating. And so the main trend, the message here is that we should probably watch for how blockchain will sort of start to enter into various industries at different times. So what does this to do with you, okay, as or us as ordinary citizens who are living our daily lives? I think one of the things is that we should try to first of all understand the basic properties and basic nature of these cryptocurrencies. Understand that they are a form of evolution of the currency or money system. Understand that they are a better form of technology or ways to do transactions or keep records. Okay, that can be verified and shared. So with these properties, if you are in certain industry sectors, it's probably worth watching how this can be applied to improve and adopted by your industry, okay, regardless of whether it's finance or it's other areas, okay. And of course, the other is that you should probably pay attention to some of these coins that might have tremendous value in the future as a form of investments, okay. So this is one of the other ideas, which is this is kind of like the Wild West in the beginning of the in the 18th and 17th, 18th centuries. There are still a lot of lands that's unclaimed, unused, but over time it could get developed, it could become populated. So one of the ways is to identify what are the use case for a certain cryptocurrency, and that use case become a dominant use case, and if so, maybe it's worth paying attention to some of the cryptos that's currently strong in that use case and be an early investor in it. Okay, so this is about what we would like to share for this week. And if you enjoy our program, please can go ahead to our official site at jcf.world to check us out. Basically, we are trying to find ways to build up how we could provide universal basic income to the world via crypto investments. All right, so thank you all, and we'll see you next time.